So we're going to get started with just blending out these lines, and the idea is that you want to keep what's there. You just want to soften it down to the point that you can look at it and think to yourself that this could be my natural bone structure. This could be my natural shadowing. So using the cream foundation brush, we're just going to very delicately kind of go back and forth. Notice how it's just softening down. It's not necessarily just going away. It's just becoming a little bit more transparent, a little bit more translucent so that you can see the skin through it. When doing skin for HD, you always want to try to maintain a little bit of translucency to the skin because you want it to still look real. One of my pet peeves is being able to visibly see a lot of product sitting at the surface of the skin because it no longer looks like skin, especially under HD camera. In my lookbook, I actually photographed a lot of my own work, and I've discovered that the more I can cut down the amount of product that's on the face, the better it turns out. So you can see quite easily that blends out. We do the cheekbone, the temple, and we do the jawline just as what Dr. Sherber and Dr. Rad does to increase volume and create shadowing. We're kind of doing the same thing with makeup, giving her a more defined jawline, a more defined cheekbone. I also do contour the nose. I do it a little bit more subtle than what I do the sides of the face. You always want to make sure you're connecting that with the brow because what it'll do is it'll really help to sculpt up the eye and sculpt up the brow all in one fell swoop. One thing that's hugely important when it comes to framing the face is brows. You want to make sure you have a nice sculpted brow without it being overdone. By the time you're done, you should really still see the hair. That's one area that you do want to see a little bit of texture on the face. So I'm going to fill it in. You always want to comb the hairs going upward, and when you finish with the brow gel, you want to comb the hairs going upward as well to create as much lift in the brow as possible. One great thing I do love about this product by Tom Ford is that it allows you to get a nice, precise application each time. It has a nice little built-in sharpener, so you literally just slide it back and forth. You have a clean tool to use each time. So one thing that I commonly do that I get a lot of clients asking me, like, why are you doing that? Is that when I fill in the brow, I actually go back and forth. Now the reason that I do this is because it actually adds a color going in two different directions. And when I come back and groom through, it looks more natural because I have laid the product in two different directions. Don't necessarily worry about trying to create a perfect shape initially because we're going to come back and groom this through. We're trying to just get the depth right where we need it. It's going to feel a little bit weird at first because you're manipulating the hair. It's going back and forth. But you can see when you come through, it looks much more natural than just going in one direction. So we're going to set the hairs with a little bit of brow gel, and the great thing about the brow gel that I'm going to be using is that it actually has little tiny particles of fiber to strengthen the hair, bring the hair back to the forefront after you use the pencil. When using a brow gel, once again, always make sure that there's not too much product in the brush so that way when you go to apply it to the face, you don't get that heavy look. So this is actually chestnut. I chose it to be a color that matches her hair color, as well as the brow sculptor was chestnut as well. So one thing that you notice is that her eye looks a lot more defined on this side than the other. This is a technique I learned many years ago called type lining, and basically it's the art of lining the lash base. So if you think of this as your eye, and these as your lashes, you're going and you're stamping in between each eyelash to create depth and make the eyes pop without needing to wear a lot of heavy eye makeup. This I found is something that's very, very important when it comes to HD camera. If you don't have a lot of depth in the lash line, your eyes can kind of go washed out on film, which is unfortunate. So I'm just going to gently lift, and right where I see her lashes growing, I'm going to press a little bit of liner right into the lash base. So this is not going into the fleshy part of the eye. Some people also call that the inner rim, or the upper eyelid. This is going right in between the lashes. Open. and you see how it does not move whatsoever. Also, if you're a gal that's really into making your eyelashes look their best, this really makes your eyelashes look good as well. If you're doing your makeup and you're looking directly into the mirror, you're actually doing yourself a huge disadvantage because you're not able to see all the contours of the eye. If you just lean your chin up and look down a bit, all of a sudden, boom, there goes your eyelid, there goes your crease, there goes your brow bone, and you can really see all the areas of the eye. That's also how you should be looking down into the mirror when you're lifting the eyelid to do your tight lining. And it looks like it would be difficult, but I have to tell you, it's actually something that's really easy to do yourself because you know the brush is coming to the lash line. One thing I found really interesting when photographing looks is that I always like to go across the top of the lashes with mascara first, and then I come underneath. If you blink or you take an image looking down and there's no mascara on the top of the lash line, it looks a little bit unfinished. And you can really see how that tight lining really comes into play after you add a little bit of mascara to it.
I know. Can you talk a little bit about a skin finish for a photograph? Because I find in real life, I like my skin to look really dewy and glowy, but then in photos it looks greasy. And so then you're like, oh, do I need a mattifying primer? Then it, you know, I mean, I guess you probably want highlight certain areas. So what's your take on that?
So we have, because I did prep her skin already, we did set her with a bit of translucent powder. I used a traditional translucent powder all over the skin, very lightly, and I used a translucent pink underneath the eyes because you always want to make sure underneath the eyes look refreshed. If you use something yellow tone, it can make you look tired no matter how much product that you use.
Even darker skin tones should use pink under the eyes?
The translucent pink setting powder is very, very sheer, so it's more of a tool than actually visibly seeing pink powder sitting underneath the eye. If you look at her skin, I'm just going to turn her this way, you can see that she has a little bit of highlight at the top of the cheekbones, a little bit in the forehead, but there's also areas that are mattified. So what you want to maintain is good balance. You don't want your face to be completely flat on camera, you don't want your face to be completely dewy. Think of those areas that you want to pop out a little bit more. The heights of the cheekbones, down the bridge of the nose, a little bit on the chin, the cupid's bow. Those are the areas that you want to look a little bit more dewy, so that way when the camera flashes, those points stand out, the others go in. So another product from the Shade and Illuminate collection by Tom Ford that I have personally been obsessed with, and you all may be getting this too, is the Shade and Illuminate Cheeks. I have always struggled with cheek color as a makeup artist because if you go over the edge, it can actually take away from the sophistication of the makeup. The beauty of this product is that you can see she has a tint of color to the cheek, but you can see right through and see that there's still skin there. This I actually just like to manipulate with the fingertip. Any cream cheek color, always use the fingertip. We're just going to kind of press it into the cheek. One thing I always do when applying cheek color to kind of take away the look that you may have used a concealer or under eye brightener, I don't use cheek color underneath the eye, but I take what's left in the tool, whether it be a brush, whether it be my finger, and just go right across the edge so it disappears. So you can see how we've added a nice warmth to the cheek, but it still has some translucency to it. And because I love these so much, I actually use two shades. So I take the more rosy color, which I believe is called Scintillate, and I add that right into the apple of the cheek. And sometimes using two different cheek colors actually adds a more multi-dimensional look to the face. When you naturally flush, you're not going to naturally flush just one shade all over. So as you were asking me before, illustrate it for me. Highlighter goes right at the tops of the cheekbones. We can add a little bit down the bridge of the nose, a little bit on the jawline. I'm sorry, not the jawline, the chin. Just to create light in those areas that we want it to stay. So another product that I used on Stacy to prep her skin is that I always like to use a pretty rich layer of the Verso lip serum with retinol 8. And basically what it does is, using a gentle retinol, it smooths out the texture in the lips, so that way when I get ready to apply lip color, it goes on quite more smoothly than it would normally. So just to bring up the natural color of her lips a bit, I'm using a lip color Shine, which is incredibly moisturizing. It has a nice tint of color to it, and this color is called Lust. And we're going to just bring up the natural color of her lip a little bit. And to make it look more natural, I'm just going to feather it out to the edges. I'm not going to apply the product towards the outer edges. And you see how it just really works with her natural lip chemistry. So this, essentially, for me, is the bread and butter of makeup. If your complexion isn't there, it kind of takes away from artfully applied color. Complexion should always be what you focus on the most, especially under HD camera, because it's almost as if you're looking at a person, you know, face to face. HD cameras have become so sophisticated to the point it picks up on every little thing. So try to keep it as much as natural as possible and cut down on texture and have a nice soft finish and keep it natural.